It's Super Tuesday 2, and the forces of evil, lawyers, political hacks, illegal aliens, liberal hit squads, the corporate-owned media whores, and other assorted America haters are hard at work trying to deny the American people their constitutionally guaranteed right to select their president. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook, and on Tumblr, and on YouTube, and in the book Real Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, people around the country, 5 different states, major states, including Florida and Ohio, are voting. I've already seen word about shenanigans happening. Donald Trump's name left off of ballots, the numbers of votes being tallied incorrectly. God alone knows what kinds of intricacies we're going to see by the time the day is over. In the meantime, let's look at what we can know for certain. Item from Joseph Farah at WorldNet Daily. He writes the following: "It's disappointing that the establishment news media have blamed Donald Trump for the anti-First Amendment thuggery that forced cancellation of a Chicago political rally on Friday. It's shocking, however, that several Republican presidential candidates have done so. The group behind the violence and potential violence aimed at shutting down constitutionally protected political speech is well organized and well funded. It's a government-sanctioned, tax-exempt 501c4 charity supported by billionaire George Soros that should be shut down. Its charter describes itself as an educational group that works in the public interest, not the organizing of fascist anti-free speech goon squads. MoveOn.org was actually founded in 1998 with one purpose in mind: to provide media and political cover for Bill and Hillary Clinton's effort to victimize and demean women and fight off impeachment efforts. It's also an avowedly partisan organization, having funneled millions of dollars to Democratic Party candidates, including Barack Obama. In 2016, it has endorsed Bernie Sanders. While Trump's Republican opponents claim his campaign has invited chaos at his rallies with incendiary speech, they should remember this group used similar tactics against George W. Bush in 2004, after comparing the establishment GOP president with Adolf Hitler in media ads. If Trump's opponents think MoveOn.org would be any less brutish toward their campaigns if they were frontrunners, they were hopelessly misguided. As recently as 2014, MoveOn.org hosted a petition calling on the U.S. government not to designate the jihadist organization Boko Haram as a terrorist group. The group kidnapped more than 200 girls in Nigeria who would never return to their parents and villages, and are now assumed to have been killed, raped, or forced into arranged marriages. MoveOn.org is the new Ku Klux Klan, simply another age-old terrorist group that historically served as the military wing of the Democratic Party. Blaming Trump for their Gestapo tactics will only further their despicable ends. Stop! Every word Joseph Farah has said here is true. People are fools if they see thugs show up at Donald Trump rallies and then blame Trump. I won't waste your time by pointing out Trump has a constitutionally protected right to say whatever he wants. But there are people out there accusing him of saying racist things. He has not said anything racist. I know. I've been following his campaign very closely. He's not a racist. He simply wants to protect the United States of America. Now, in this ultra PC environment, there are people who interpret that as racism. Those people are fools. They don't know what real racism is. They're not getting it from Trump. And if they want to see real racism, they should look at the Democratic Party, which believes blacks are too stupid to achieve anything on their own, and that's why they need the government to give them handouts and affirmative action. That's racism. Republicans believe everybody is equal and we should have a meritocracy. Whoever's the best party for a job or for a position in government or for educational loans should get them. That's not racism, that's realism. Item from the Blaze. The protests that broke out ahead of Donald Trump's Chicago campaign rally last week quickly became violent riots when Bernie Sanders supporters and members of Black Lives Matter movement joined forces to shut down the event. According to Ann Coulter, sources inside the Chicago Police Department were apparently told by Chicago Mayor and notorious liberal Rahm Emanuel not to arrest any of the violent rioters at the Trump rally. Unquote. Well, Rahm Emanuel is a piece of garbage who used to be Barack Obama's handler, his chief of staff. Now he's the mayor of Chicago, where people are shotgunned to death every weekend. Where in one weekend recently, 57 people were shot. Rahm Emanuel is a party hack. He's a whore. He's a lousy mayor. And the last thing he cares about are the people of Chicago. He cares about scoring points for the party because, believe me, Mayor of Chicago is not the final stop on his tour. He wants higher office than that. He's angling for it, and so he's going to do what the party wants, and what the party wants is to unleash thugs on Donald Trump. Item from Fox News. Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton committed her second gaffe in as many days on the campaign trail Monday night, claiming that the U.S., quote, did not lose a single person, unquote, in Libya during her time as Secretary of State, unquote. Well, my friends, maybe it slipped her mind, that whole Benghazi mess where 4 Americans were butchered. But maybe it didn't. Maybe Hillary Clinton was simply being honest for the first time. Maybe that's why we didn't recognize it. I think Hillary was honest in that interview. When she said America didn't lose a single person in Libya, she meant it. Because to her, the 4 Americans who were killed were nothing. They were nothing. They were acceptable collateral damage to the Hillary Clinton wants to be president machine. To her, the lives were completely flushable. And so I think Hillary was being completely honest during this interview. We didn't lose anybody because those people weren't anybody according to Hillary. They were simply stepping stones to her achieving power. Let you know a little secret. So are you. And so am I. And so is everybody. Hillary Clinton would gleefully submit all of us to the bayonets if it would make her President of the United States. Anyway, it's Tuesday. It's Super Tuesday, too. We'll take a break. Real Truth continues. Stick around.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the points of people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's servants, not the people's masters? Liberty Forum and the Freedom Rider says officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place.
Hang on, guys, we're about to go on the air. Just chill out.
Or things to be seized.
There we go. right, guys, we're back. Tell me something. Have you ever done something right and been blamed for having done something wrong? You ever been the victim of blame when it was someone else who did it? Yeah, me too. Everybody has, and now it's being done to Donald Trump. Here's Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, talking to Hannity on Fox News, asking the media to get off all the Trump bashing. Let's listen.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, left-wing radicals are directly to blame for inciting violence at Donald Trump's rallies over the weekend. On Friday, agitators forced Trump to cancel his scheduled event in Chicago over security concerns. The disruptors were encouraged by the likes of the unrepentant domestic terrorist, friend of Obama, Bill Ayers. He was in the middle of the unrest and even posted a video of the protests on Twitter, and he wrote, "We shut Trump down. Beautiful gathering of anti-racist youth." But Ayers is not the only one. The left-wing group MoveOn.org, which has endorsed Bernie Sanders for president, also took credit for what took place in Chicago on Friday. Now, MoveOn.org is now openly soliciting donations to help create even more chaos at future political events of Donald Trump. And on Saturday, a man who, according to a report, says he's a Bernie Sanders supporter, he took it a step further. He tried to rush the stage while Trump was speaking. The Secret Service was forced to intervene. Here with reaction, author of the New York Times bestseller Duplicity, is a former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, it's sort of like the same left-wing, I'll use the word fascism, that we see on college campuses. Mark Thiessen had a piece today. Condi Rice, other people have been shut down, denied opportunities to speak because they're conservative. It seems like the same thing's happening here. Thoughts?
Well, look, first of all, the actions Friday night clearly were left-wing fascism, and you're exactly right. I'm really saddened by any Republican who wants to blame Trump. Donald Trump wasn't the reason, for example, that, as you point out, Condi Rice gets canceled, Ben Carson gets canceled on the campus, Ayaan Hirsi Ali gets canceled on the campus. The fact is you have this entire movement of fascism, which is saying, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to shut up your right to speak. I'm going to intimidate you, I'm going to bully you, and they're terrified of Trump because he seems to be strong enough and dynamic enough to take him head on. But it's worse than that in the news media. You have on MSNBC, for example, Rachel Maddow suggesting that for Trump to go to Chicago, Cleveland, or St. Louis is provocative because of racial incidents that have occurred in those three cities. Now, imagine an American television figure suggesting that a presidential candidate shouldn't visit Chicago, Cleveland, or St. Louis. This is madness. And I think we have some obligation to say to the news media, you know, you need to get off this Trump bashing and report honestly, not just in the presidential race, but on the campuses, what has happened.
You know, you have all these reports, George Soros funding groups like Move On and Black Lives Matters, and then, of course, Occupy Wall Street. And all of these groups now seem to want to coordinate, and they're fundraising off it, because they want to create as much chaos as possible. Monmouth County did a poll out of Florida. Get this, 22% of respondents more likely to vote for Trump as a result of what happened in Chicago. How do you interpret that?
Well, I think the numbers are going to go up because I think people realize that the sources of confusion and chaos are left-wing fascists who want to impose their way of life on us. They want to impose their values on us. Remember, the first really big test case was Scott Walker as governor of Wisconsin, who had a key moment when he had thousands of people in the Capitol. He had people sleeping in. He had people occupying the state Capitol. They had lost the election fair and square. They had lost the election for governor. They lost the election for state representative. They lost the election for the Senate. And their reaction was to take it to the streets and try to browbeat the governor and the legislature against what they had promised the people of Wisconsin they would do. I think if you see Trump win or Cruz win, if either one goes to Washington and brings real reform, you're going to see these kind of militants willing to go out and do everything they can in the street to try to stop what they're losing at the ballot box.
I put a montage together of incendiary language of the left. You know, they're saying, well, Donald Trump said this or Donald Trump said that, but you know, remember Barack Obama said, they bring a knife, we bring a gun. Get in their face. Remember he said that in the 2008 election. Here's the amazing thing. Here is an unrepentant domestic terrorist friend of the president that's part of what happened in Chicago on Friday night. That's Bill Ayers, part of the Weather Underground that bombed the Pentagon, the Capitol, New York City Police Headquarters. He's a part of this. Nobody seems to want to ask Obama and the Democrats about the president's relationship. He began his career in that domestic terrorist house. That, to me, is such a big story, not a few words uttered by Donald Trump. Why was the president friends with an unrepentant terrorist is a bigger story to me.
Look, I think what you're about to discover, and I had a reporter today say this to me totally off the record because he would be in danger of losing his job if he said it publicly, that he had never seen the elite media as totally frantically hostile as they are to Donald Trump. And the danger for the elite media, whether it's CBS News or MSNBC or you name it, the danger is they're going to totally alienate the average American, because the average American's watching the video. They're seeing what's really happening, and they're beginning to put the pieces together from college campuses to Madison to what happened in Chicago, and I think that's going to be a real problem for the news media.
I thought we were always taught by the left, never blame the victim. For example, you have the Unabomber in his hut. Al Gore's book, Earth in the Balance, was in there. Did Al Gore inspire the Unabomber? That wouldn't be fair. Or you can take any number of examples where left-wing words do not cause people. You cannot say that words are causing people to be violent. But that's the narrative that they're trying to. It seems that there is a narrative that they're trying to advance, that Donald Trump brought this on himself, which is the most intellectually dishonest argument that I think I've heard in this entire race, which has been pretty crazy up to this point.
You know, Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Early on, the news media wanted to ignore Trump, and then they wanted to laugh at Trump. Now, all of a sudden, they're realizing he may become the Republican nominee, and he might even win the general election. And that has them so frantic that they're prepared to cover anything in a biased way in order, in the last desperate steps of trying to stop Trump. And that's what you're seeing. So the fascist left can do whatever it wants.
Yeah.
It's going to have as its big ally much of the American
And
news.
the guy that attacked him, I'll roll the video again. This guy who was bragging on Twitter that something was going to happen, this guy was released hours after he tried to attack a presidential candidate. Could you imagine the indignation and outrage if he had tried to attack Hillary or Bernie Sanders? I'm having a hard time. I mean, he literally jumped over the barricade and literally tried to get to Trump. Now he's being heralded on CNN as a great hero.
Right, and that's because you have an entire block of people in the media who are so paranoid about Donald Trump that they will rally around anybody who does anything to try to stop Trump, even if it is totally un-American, totally illegal, totally violates our system and our tradition. This is going to be a very big moment for the American people.
It is a very big moment for the American people, my friends, and the powers that be want to own that moment, and it's going to require all of us working together to keep them from doing that. Believe me, they're going to try. Item from Fox News. Safe spaces may become empty spaces at the University of Missouri, where officials acknowledged an expected sharp decline in enrollment next fall is due at least in part to protests that rocked the campus last fall. The school is braced for a 25% drop in new students this coming fall, forcing the institution to enact painful budget cuts as well as hiring and salary freezes. We do know that the events of last fall have had an effect on our application numbers. However, it's difficult to provide a specific number as we do not have any hard data, said University of Missouri spokesman Christian Bassey in a statement to Fox News. Associate Professor Melissa Click, if you'll remember, was recently fired from Mizzou after a video of her threatening a student journalist covering protests on campus last fall surfaced online. Unquote. My friends, you remember Melissa Click. She's the piece of human trash who was an associate professor at this college, and they were holding a rally, a protest rally. Student journalist came with a camera. She said he had to go. Well, he didn't have to go. They were on public or university property, and he was working for the university media, so he didn't have to go. When he wouldn't go, and I give that kid a lot of credit for having strength, Melissa Click, the associate professor, called on people to come over and eat some muscle here, she said. Well, now Melissa Click can go flip burgers at Burger King, or apply price tags at Walmart, or try walking up and down the streets if she likes, because she's exactly the kind of professor nobody needs. And if she's not real clear on exactly what freedom of speech means, let her go back to school, except this time she's going to have to pay tuition. Item from USA24.com. Where was the mainstream media on this? You better not hold your breath while waiting for them to cover this, because it isn't going to happen. Watch as these Muslims in Chicago chant, quote, "Free Palestine, death to Israel, death to America," unquote. Where is the media? As a member of the media for these past 37 years, I got to tell you, I am disgusted with the major media. Now, you listen to Real Truth, you're going to get the truth. You listen to the major media, you're going to get spin, you're going to get propaganda, you're going to get the party line, or you're going to get nothing if the event doesn't match the agenda that the corporate media has. Case in point, Chicago protesters chanting "death to Israel, death to America." You won't see that on television, but remember, you heard it here. Item from Breitbart. Patricia Smith, whose son Sean was killed in the 2012 terrorist attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, responded to Democrat presidential candidate and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's statement about her being, quote, "absolutely wrong," by saying there's a special place in hell for people like Clinton, and I hope she enjoys it there. On Tuesday's broadcast of the Fox Business Network's Intelligence Report with Trish Regan, Smith said, quote, "She lied to me. She told me it was a fault of the video, and she knew full well it wasn't at that time. Then she says she was going to check, and if it's any different, she would call me back. She would let me know. She never once spoke to me or her office. The only thing I ever got out of them is I am not a member of the immediate family, and I don't need to know," unquote. My friends, Hillary Clinton does many things. One of them is cold as a fish. There's no warmth in her. That smile you see is plastered on her face. It's as fake as the smile on the face of the Joker. She doesn't care about you. Doesn't care about me. Doesn't care about her husband. Doesn't care about anybody except maybe Huma Abedin. She would torch everything and kill all of us if she thought it would land her a seat in the Oval Office. Not going to happen. Observational.com. Dateline Moscow. Whistleblower Edward Snowden has made a new controversial claim during an interview, saying he possesses some classified information proving that the CIA is behind the theory of global warming. Snowden, who lives as a fugitive in Russia after leaking documents about the NSA's surveillance programs, has made some previously unreported allegations during an interview with the Moscow Tribune. Mr. Snowden says the CIA first orchestrated the spread of the global warming scare in the 1950s in order to divert the attention of the scientific community from the dangers of the weapons race and reinforce its control over research studies institutes. I have documents showing the CIA invented the whole thing, claims Edward Snowden. Global warming was invented to both scare people and divert their attention from other human-made dangers like nuclear weapons. The CIA gave millions of dollars to any scientist who would confirm the theory, so many unscrupulous scientists did what they were told in order to get the money. Now, there's so much fake data that confirm that global warming exists that they've actually convinced everyone that it was real. All right, folks, I hope you're convinced that I'm real, Howard Real, and it's Real Truth, and we'll be back.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the point of people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's servants, not the people's masters? Liberty Forum and the Freedom Rider says, officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities as modest emergency lighting all the way to commercial-scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom-designed system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15.
Okay, guys, welcome back. Real Truth, Howard Riell. Europe's, no, I'm going to do Dinesh D'Souza first. Here is Dinesh D'Souza talking to a bunch of people. You know who he is. He was put in jail by the Obama administration because he made a documentary about Barack Obama. He is a documentarian. He is a conservative. He's one of the good guys. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Thank you very much. You know, 4 years ago, I made the film 2016, Obama's America, which kind of upset the thin-skinned narcissist in the White House. And so for a relatively minor campaign finance infraction, I was locked up overnight for 8 months in a federal confinement center. Now I just mentioned that because I want to tell you that if that film got me 8 months in the slammer, this new movie is going to earn me life in prison. Look, it's time to take the gloves off, and as you got a glimpse from this film, it is a sordid history of the Democratic Party from the very beginning all the way through Hillary. The Democrats want us to believe that the party of equal rights and human rights and civil rights. The truth is, the Democrats are the party of slavery and Indian removal, of broken treaties and the Trail of Tears. They're the party of segregation and Jim Crow and lynching and the Ku Klux Klan. They're the party of Japanese internment and opposition to the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Fair Housing Bill of 1968. This is their actual history. So what they do is they try to cover it up, and the way they try to cover it up is by blaming America. America did this and America did that, but the reality is that America didn't do it, the Democrats did. Now, another story from the Democrats is that they changed, that somehow recently they became enlightened and they became the good guys and the bad guys all became Republicans. This is the story of the so-called switch. But the truth of it is that there never was a switch. The Democrats are now the same as they always were. One thing I learned in the confinement center is that crime is about stealing. Lincoln understood that slavery is about stealing. He summarized the essence of slavery as, you work, I eat. Now if you think about it, this concept of you work, I eat is still the center of the politics of the Democratic Party. They were playing plantation politics back then, and they're playing plantation politics right now. Now look, we're going to release this film the week of the Democratic Convention toward the end of July. They're going to be telling the history that they want you to know, and we're going to be telling the story they don't want you to know. Here's how you can help us. Go see the film opening weekend. It's a little secret about movies that the fate of a film depends upon opening weekend. We'll open wide in 1,500 theaters. If we do well in opening weekend, we'll be in 2,000 theaters the next week. If we do poorly, we'll be in 1,100 theaters the next week. So if you want to know what can I do, for $10 you can put fuel in our rocket by bringing your friends together and going to see the movie when it opens. This is how you affect the politics of Hollywood.
Well, my friends, go see the movie because it will be coming out. And you can affect the politics of Hollywood just as you can today. If you're in any of the states voting today, get yourselves out, go vote for Donald Trump, and then you can feel proud about yourself. Item. From the End of the American Dream blog, 2016 is turning out to be the strangest election season that we've seen in decades, and it may soon get far stranger. At this point, most people assume Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, and without a doubt, he has a tremendous amount of success. But because most of the states so far have appointed delegates proportionally, Trump is only 44.8% of the delegates that have been awarded up to this point. So Trump's going to have to do significantly better through the rest of the process in order to get to the magic number of 1,237 delegates, especially since not all the delegates are awarded through the primaries and caucuses. As Real Clear Politics has detailed, every state is awarded so-called RNC delegates, who are party officials with automatic credentials to the convention. Right now, more than 40% of all the delegates to the convention have already been awarded to Trump, and Trump is sitting at just 458. To get to 1237, he's going to have to do really well in the upcoming winner-take-all states. That's why there's so much focus on Florida and Ohio today, March 15th. If Trump wins both of them, he will have a path to the 1,237 delegates. If he doesn't, that's where things get tricky. If Donald Trump shows up at the convention with fewer than 1,237 delegates, he will be vulnerable, and it's likely the Republican establishment will try to steal the nomination away from him. In order for that to happen, the rules of the convention will need to be changed, because right now the only candidates that are likely to be nominated under the current rules are Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Unquote. My friends, I asked you the other day, call your local Republican Party. Call the Republican Party office in Washington, D.C. and say, if there's any monkey business with Donald Trump at the convention, you will stay home and not vote, or worse, you'll vote for Hillary Clinton. Say it with conviction. Say it like you mean it. Because if they're going to take away our choice, that we're going to take away their choice, and then all of America loses because of shady politics. Item from today.ugov.com. Showing little sign of a ceiling, Donald Trump has only grown in support with the exit of Ben Carson and Marco Rubio's collapse. In the last 2 weeks, Republican frontrunner Donald Trump has won more delegates in primaries and caucuses, even while his opponents have launched new attacks and questions have been raised about his supporters. The week's Economist YouGov poll found Trump still at the top of GOP voters' preference with a wider lead, while Florida Senator Marco Rubio seems most damaged by the 2 weeks of attacks and counterattacks. This is the first time Trump's garnered the support of a majority of Republican primary voters nationwide. YouGov's February 4 to 27 survey marked the previous high at 44%. Unquote. Item from Breitbart. The protests launched by militant leftists to shut down Donald Trump's Chicago rally were far more aggressive and destructive than reported, says a Chicago police officer. Quote, it seems the media aren't broadcasting footage of the debris being thrown across Harrison by Sanders and Hillary supporters at the Trump fans, the officer wrote shortly after the canceled Trump event. The officer, who posed anonymously on the Second City Cop blog, also noted the media did not report that the protesters were running through parking lots and breaking windows of cars with Trump stickers on them, or that the department called out emergency incident teams to cope with the anti-Trump riot at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Unquote. My friends, it's always the same. It's always the liberals who turn out to be the real Nazis. We'll be back.
Howdy, folks. Have you ever thought about having your own backyard chickens?
All right, guys, I'm all done. Make sure to save this video, share it, call your Republican offices in your city, call D.C., tell them if they try and screw Trump, you're going to screw them. I'll see you tomorrow.